Separated from his parents, an infected 4-year-old highlights the human cost of China's zero-COVID policy. A 4-year-old boy has been infected. Unfortunately, a caption in the video reads, "No accompanying parents. Going to quarantine alone." The scene, captured by a nurse at a quarantine hospital in the city of Putian, the epicenter of China's latest Delta variant outbreak, gripped millions of people when it went viral on Chinese social media this week. "It makes my heart ache," said one of the top comments on Weibo, China's Twitter-like platform. "My eyes are getting teary," said another. The video serves as a poignant reminder of the human cost of China's prized zero-COVID policy, which has helped the country quell multiple resurgences of the virus. The elimination playbook consists of placing entire neighborhoods under lockdown, testing millions of residents in a matter of days, and swiftly isolating infected people and their close contacts in designated facilities. In a news conference Thursday, the Putian government said China's epidemic control rules bar COVID patients from any company during isolation and treatment. But if a child and their parent are both infected, the hospital would try to arrange them to stay in the same ward, an official said. Zhu Xiaoqing, the nurse who took the video at the quarantine hospital, told the local Fujian Health Daily newspaper her eyes were wet with tears when she saw an ambulance full of children arriving, all sealed up in hazmat suits. They had arrived late because a child didn't want to leave home and was crying for 2 hours before being coaxed into the ambulance, she said.
Upon arrival, the children had CT scans by themselves. Some were so young they couldn't climb onto the scanning table and had to be picked up by a doctor, Su said on Weibo. Some users questioned why children this young couldn't be accompanied by their parents. Others pointed out their parents were likely put in centralized quarantine in other facilities as close contacts of the infected. "It's basically a strategy of rather killing 1,000 by mistake than letting one go," said Jin Dongyang, a virologist at the University of Hong Kong. "Children shouldn't have needed to undergo such extreme quarantine measures. This is the social cost of the zero-tolerance approach. The success of the stringent approach is partly built on public fear. This is not ideal," Jin said. "The correct way is to tell the public the truth, which is the only sustainable way going forward." Across the world, a growing list of countries have opened up after mass vaccinations. Others, such as Singapore and Australia, are also shifting away from the zero-COVID strategy to a new approach of learning to live with the virus. Jin, the expert at the University of Hong Kong, said authorities are worried about the efficacy of the vaccines. Chinese officials have revealed that some of the early cases in a previous Delta outbreak were fully vaccinated. That the social immunity is not strong enough. They don't have enough confidence in the vaccines, he said. China is now offering booster shots to fully vaccinated people working at borders, customs, quarantine facilities, COVID hospitals and the aviation industry, according to the National Health Commission, but it remains to be seen how long the effect of that extra shot will last. For the time being, the Chinese government is likely to stick to its zero-tolerance approach as it attempts to boost public immunity, but it will eventually need to learn to live with COVID, Jin said. It might go on for another year or two. But China can't shut its doors forever, he said. At the quarantine hospital in Putian, medical workers have come up with various ways to comfort the infected children. They decorated the isolation wards and corridors with cartoon paintings and provided the kids with children's books, toys and stationery. Nurses also looked after their daily needs and played games with them, according to state media. But some worry that's not enough. During the day, it might be okay, but at night the kids will still be scared, said a comment on Weibo. Astronauts start the journey home. The 3 Chinese astronauts living in space for 90 days have returned to Earth, marking an end to China's longest ever crewed mission. The crew boarded the Shenzhou 12 spacecraft on Thursday and touched down at the Gobi Desert in Inner Mongolia on Friday afternoon, state news agency Xinhua reported. During their 3 months at the space station, the astronauts conducted 2 spacewalks to test their equipment, new generation spacesuits and life maintenance systems. Their mission is a major step in China's plan to complete the space station by December 2022, when it's expected to be fully crewed and operational. Before then, China plans to send 3 more manned spacecraft and 2 laboratory modules to the space station. Their ambitions don't end there. Earlier this year, the Chinese government signed an agreement with Russia to work together to build a moon base. China is also planning to launch crewed missions to Mars and deploy a massive space-based, commercial-scale solar power plant by 2050. China faces a potential Lehman moment. Wall Street is unfazed. The implosion of Lehman Brothers, 13 years ago this week, showed how the collapse of a single entity can send shockwaves around the world. Echoes from that event are resounding today as a massive property developer on the other side of the world teeters on the brink of default. The risk is the collapse of Evergrande, the Chinese real estate company with a staggering $300 billion of debt outstanding, could set off a chain reaction that spreads overseas. Some fear an Evergrande meltdown will have systemic risks on par with the impact Lehman Brothers' demise had on the US stock market. Ed Yudini, president of Yudini Research, wrote in a note to clients Thursday. Like Lehman in its heyday, Evergrande is massive, suggesting a default would be felt widely. The company has 200,000 employees, raked in more than $110 billion in sales last year, and has more than 1,300 developments, according to Reuters. Wall Street is keeping close tabs on the Evergrande situation, which highlights the extraordinary amount of borrowing Chinese companies and families have taken on over the years. Yet there are no signs that investors think an Evergrande default will infect US markets or the domestic economy. For now, investors seem confident authorities in Beijing would use their vast control over the Chinese economy to limit the damage. And there is no evidence, at least so far, of contagion in US markets. We think that the China's Lehman moment narrative is wide of the mark. Simon McAdam, senior global economist at Capital Economics, wrote in a note on Thursday.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.